So, hello to the first clip of like the 4 sections. This is clip 1 of the first sections. We will be talking about the verbal analogy questions. Let's get to know what the meaning of the verbal analogy is and how we can master it. Number 1, you have to know what the meaning of verbal analogy is. It's basically a comparison between 2 words. One of them is related to the other. Your job is to know this relation. So it's a comparison between one thing and another for the purpose of explanation it or clarifying it. In order to solve this question, you have to think carefully about the analogy. And then you have to determine the analogy type. And then you have to calm down and don't panic because sometimes it will be a little bit confusing. Then you have to use your own skills. Skills like what? Like you have to know the most important thing in English, which is the sentence structure. You have to know what the part of speech is. Are there any suffixes or prefixes? Is there like cause and effect or compare and contrast? So the moment you realize and know the relation between the 2 words is the moment that you open the door to the solution. Okay? Now let's figure out some of the analogy types. I know that some of you might probably have seen those before, but basically, let's talk about them like briefly. We have dozens and dozens of analogy types. And when time goes by, you will be able to come up with like an analogy type of your own. The key here is to do some practice, solve a lot of questions, and then you will be able the skill of determining the relation between one word and another so fast. So we have some of the most common analogy types are synonyms and antonyms. And then we have synonyms, antonyms, object classification, and we also have relations, we have characteristics, and we also have part to whole, object purpose, cause and effect, and then we have also word degree, problem solution, and general to specific, and then we have source to product, and then we have the sequence. So we will go through each and every one of those like in detail. The first one is called the synonym, which basically mean the meaning of the word. Like for example, we have here the word ugly and the word awful. What's the relation between ugly and awful? They are both having the same meaning. So they both have the same meaning, just like big and enormous. We can also call big and enormous as word degree, but we will get to that later. So the second type of analogy is called antonym, or as what we call opposites. So antonyms or opposites like quickly and slowly. And then we have object and classification. So you keep on asking yourself, what's a fly? A fly is an insect. What's a gun? A gun is a weapon. So what's the relation between spoon and fork? Both of them are used in food or in eating. So they belong to the same object or the same category or the same type. What is the relation between class and smartboard? They are both used in education. So things are related that serve the same purpose. The third, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth analogy type is called characteristics. And it's one of the most common questions or analogy type. So when you describe the night is dark, when we describe winter is cold. So what's the relation between night and dark? It's basically characteristic. So night is described as being dark, winter is described as being cold. Also one of the most common analogy type is part to whole. Like the fingers are part of the hand, the leaves are part of the tree. Florida is a city in America. And then we have object to purpose. Like for example, why do we use the binoculars? We use the binoculars to see. Why do we use the needle? We use the needle to sew. What's the purpose of the book? The purpose of the book is to read. So the moment you realize or know the relation between the words is the moment you open the door to solving the questions, and then you will be able to determine the correct answer. Okay, then we have cause and effect. Why were you absent? Because I was sick. Okay, what is burn? It's caused by fire. Infection is caused by disease. So these are analogy types for you as a guide. Like, teacher, do I have to memorize those? Of course not. Because when time goes by, the more you solve, the more analogy type you will come up with, you yourself. So you just have to know the reason between the relation, or what's the link between one word to the other. The moment you know the link between one word to the other is the moment you get to go to know the correct answer. Top teacher, what's the catch in here? Why is it difficult? Because sometimes you will be faced with very difficult questions. Sorry, very difficult words. So your job is to know as many words as you can. How can I know this? I can provide it for you. So if you look at the comments, you might find like in the comments the a file that I might upload, or you can WhatsApp me. I will send it to you for free. It's for everybody for free. Okay. So let's carry on. Then we have something that is called word degree. So we have here, I'm hungry, there, I'm starving, okay? Here, I'm tired, there, I'm exhausted. So these are word degree. So the catch is here, like the problem that we have or we always face is word degree and synonyms, because most of the time they look like one another. So how can I differentiate between them? Basically, you will find the relation in the choices that talks about the same paired words, as we're gonna like know it later. However, synonyms and word degree are easily found because he's not gonna give you in the choices synonyms and word degree at the same time. So it's either a word degree or a synonym. You will find it in the choices. Then we have another type of analogy is called problem and solution. So if you are fat, do some exercise. If something is broken, try to repair it. If you are thirsty, you drink. Okay. So next we have city and New York, which is called general to specific, genre like a science fiction, and then source to product. Cacao beans come from chocolate and wood, and the pencil is made of wood. Okay, and then we have the sequence: winter and spring. E comes before F. July comes before September. Okay, so the cacao beans is made by, sorry, the chocolate is made from cacao beans. The pencil is made from the wood. Spring and winter are like following one another, and then E and F are also sequence, and then we have July and September also sequence. So the best thing for me before I get to solve the questions is to determine the analogy type. The moment I know the analogy type is the moment I be able to solve the question. Let's see an example here. Okay, this example is from Qiyas. Okay, we have here cold and hot. The first thing that we need to know is to try to determine the relation between the words cold and hot. Like, teacher, what's the relation between cold and hot? It's basically antonyms. So they are opposites. So when you go to like the choices, you have to determine each and every analogy type of those four choices. Handsome and young, summer and spring, beautiful and ugly, complete and total. And before you like tell me, teacher, like move fast, I know that you already answered it, but let's try to analyze each and every one of them. Here, the relation is based on antonyms, right? Like handsome and young, are they antonyms? Of course not. So what's the relation between handsome and young? Okay. Maybe it's characteristic. Maybe they are not related at all. What's the relation between summer and spring? Absolutely sequence. And then complete and total, they are synonym or word degree. But the relation between beautiful and ugly here is that they are antonyms. Of course, you will be thinking about all this in your brain, like it's going to take not more than 10 to 15 seconds, especially if the question was easy like this one, cold and hot. So the correct answer here will be beautiful and ugly because they have the same relation as cold and hot. Inshallah, in coming clips, we will be talking like we will take dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds of analogy questions. After we finish getting an introduction or a brief like questions about the rest of the sections, when we finish getting to know the sections and how they are like coming in the exam, we will take extra practice. So the coming clip, we'll be talking about, I think, finding the textual error, and then we will talk about the sentence completion. So stay tuned for the coming slide or the coming clip because we'll be talking about the contextual error. So see ya.